Hello, everyone. My name is Garrison Glenn. I'm the moderator. This is Melina. This is Sam. This is Damar, and this is Jose. And we are a group. We named ourselves the Furious Five, and our name or topic for today is foster freedom. Basically, talking about foster care. And guys, how do we even get to this point?
Well, I started off by saying we should talk about textbooks just because professor suggested it, and I thought, hey, I've been here for a few years now, and like I've paid for plenty of textbooks, and I didn't use probably more than half of them. Right. So I thought that should be cool, but I felt like I didn't really know how else to touch up on it, so I asked for other people's suggestions. Maybe we should go something with like a deeper,
little bit like a deeper meaning, a little bit.
Yeah, experience was, well, not experience, but like knowing somebody that been through it and stuff, and just knowing the idea of like what I could research about it was like also cool about getting into foster care. So,
and that leads us to Damar.
Yeah, I had a lot of personal experience with foster care, so I had a very deep connection with it and a passion for it as well, to be able to get information out about how corrupt foster care is, and the different positives and negatives of foster care as well.
right.
And that leads us to the child development aspect of that. And what are some of the child development like tactics or ways in which the foster care system brings about child development?
Yeah, I think looking into child development and researching it, for me, it was pretty shocking to see some of the statistics that I was seeing, right? For example, like I looked up one statistic, and I saw that, a child that's going into foster care is 7 times more likely to suffer from depression and 5 times more likely to suffer from anxiety. And so that was really shocking to me. And also, learning that, these kids come from backgrounds that are, pretty severe. That in another study that I found, like compared to veterans, they're like 2 times more likely than a veteran to suffer from post-traumatic stress. So I think definitely seeing like the child development aspect showed me like these kids that are in foster care unit need to be cared for, right? And they need to be, cared for, especially because they go from these harsh backgrounds.
I actually took psychology and child development classes a few years back, and we did learn a few things about foster cares. It really affects the way they grow up. Like, for example, like babies who don't get taken care of properly, sometimes they'll just be laying in their crib staring at the ceiling, and they don't get the proper stimulation that they should be getting, like interactions with the parents or anyone. So they kind of lack in some areas as they grow up, and I think it's really important that things like this should be touched upon.
Did you have anything to say? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and for children who grew up in foster care, especially the really ones that didn't have any of the stimulation or like the good parenting that you should have, they grow up having these behavioral issues as well. They have short tempers, anger issues, stuff like that. I know I had that, and I grew up with all those issues. Thankfully, not depression or anxiety, but I have grown up with those two, and it was tough being in school, especially public school. I was always in the principal's office because I always got into trouble, and thankfully I went to therapy when I was young to really find a way to cope with my anger and find a good way to release it without being destructive or hurting people in the wrong way.
Yeah, because... Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's interesting because do you ever feel like you were ever properly reprimanded by your foster care owners? Like they never properly, like, not punished you, but tried to teach you the other way of not to do things?
Discipline.
No.
Discipline? No.
I was punished, but I was punished for just dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Like, getting home late from school, I was whooped. Like, it was very dumb. Like, and even for like the serious stuff that I did, I was punished, but not nearly as bad as I was punished when I was just being a kid.
So kind of like the opposite.
I think that definitely shows like how the foster care system, how it's run right now. Like how bad that is, right? Because like as far as like statistics or like anything, you know, like harsh backgrounds again, like these kids, you know, that are in foster care like need to be specially cared for. And you know, like from your own experience, you weren't specially cared for, like, and that's the case for like a lot of kids in foster care units. So definitely for the child development aspect, like that's something I think we all kind of noticed in our research, that it's not really, you know, something that's looked upon.
And with that being said, how does the money aspect or the financial aspect of the foster care system, how does that intertwine or affect the foster care children?
So I did look up some things about how the government funds foster care. So it's the federal government that gives money to these organizations pretty much. Specifically, I looked into the Social Security Act, and there's this thing called Title 4E. They do help provide money for foster homes, like making sure that the kids are taken out of like dangerous homes and for the time being kept in a safe one until they can go back to a proper home. Either their parents get taught how to raise their children, or at least into new homes with people who will take care of them.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I was looking up for the financial aspect that I found surprising was how much money, you know, the parents get from the government. So like the government will give them money for the child that they're fostering. And I saw that the average for California was around like $650 to $820. And like that kind of surprised me, because like that's like a month, right? So you have like that monthly earnings to provide for that child, but that's not a lot to go off of for raising a child. And it's essentially because like they're not giving them money like, you know, for the luxury of the child. They're just trying to provide the basic needs like food, clothing, you know, water. So that financial aspect of that was very shocking to me to find out about.
It's very rough. It's a very small amount of money for
raising a kid.
For raising a child.
Yeah.
It's really. How do we, like, how on the outside, people on the outside looking in, how do they really help? And what's the best like course of action for outside help?
I would say probably have the social workers come not just once a month, but multiple times a month, maybe 3 or 4 times a month, because when they just go once a month, the foster parents could just tell the kid, be on your best behavior,
Right.
and it could just be a complete lie.
So do you think they should come unannounced as well?
Yes,
Okay.
surprise
Just like a
visits are
surprise,
very
like,
important.
hey, yeah, I think that is good, because it also, say like the person only has like a week, or not a week, say the social worker tells the parents what day they're going to be coming. That gives the parents time to prepare, and they could say, like you said, be on your best behavior, as opposed to them coming in and on a random day and then seeing what the true like aspect and nature of what's going on inside the house. It's messed up in a sense, but at the same time, it's like you're still trying to figure out, like, is this person being taken care of?
Right.
And yeah.
With that though, I know for sure that with social workers and like CPS, they do want to help. They just don't know the right way of helping. Whether that's not knowing enough, like from what you were trained for during the time, or just giving up so quickly because it's just too dramatic for you, or just too much on a deeper level of listening to, you know, a kid talking about what they're going through, or not even talking about what they're going through, because it's so hard for them to like trust another person, such as another adult, because being that young and then talking to an adult when you're either being abused or, you know, again, neglected, how do you go and talk to another one? You know what I mean? And it's just, I've watched a video and I seen a YouTube video of a girl quitting her job as a CPS because she couldn't do what she was trained for, and that was just like making effort to help the kid when she felt like the kid didn't want help. And so she just decided to give up because there was just no trying or no effort from the kid. But it's not the kid's fault. It's like the lack of you not even putting more effort into it, you know,
Yeah.
and what you've learned for.
Yeah, kind of like a lack of training too.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, like another thing that I found online was I saw that 1 out of 3 social workers don't know how to properly like talk to a child and like to care for them, because like they're too worried about like some of those dynamics, right? And so like if you only have like 33% of social workers knowing how to talk to a child, like ask them, are you okay, and stuff like that, there's the majority, the 66% is like, I don't want to touch that, like
Right.
I'm too scared, I don't know how to, you know, care for you. So I think definitely like finding a way to like get social workers trained, like that's huge.
Yeah,
Very
so
huge.
that's where I did find more about Title 4E. There's this thing called the California CWEC. It's SWEC, Social Worker Education Center. So I think the issue that some people may have faced is that they weren't getting proper training. But the education center, it's funded by the Title 4E, where it does give these people proper education. It helps fund them for themselves as well. Like, it's not just for the foster care system, it's for like the social workers too, you know, like it'll teach these people how to be like the proper social worker that we've been like not getting this whole time.
Right.
The proper social worker we're trying to describe.
Yeah.
And for us on the outside looking in, how do we make a change for this foster care system? Because I mean, there's not much we can do as college students, unfortunately. But I think a good way to do this is to raise awareness. And one of the ways we can do that is just looking at different types of foundations for foster care. And Sam and I touched on that. And what was the website you found?
Yeah, no, totally. So we got to the group point because like we decided like these are the things that we're gonna look up, but we wanted to know like what can we do, like so we said raise awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that I really wanted to look into that was because you know we talk so much about social workers and like the negative effects of like social workers are in essence good, but like it's not a good strategy because like they don't know what they're doing really. They don't know how to properly care for these people. So what I decided to do is I wanted to look up a site that would kind of like raise up these people who could become social workers and could come and like bring about like the unheard voices that
Right.
you know we want to be heard. And so I found a website called NFYI, and essentially what their job is they take people that grew up in foster care units and give them a voice. And they do that by what they call an inside-outside approach. Their outside approach is they take people from like foster care units, and like it's diverse. It can be like they're, you know, rich, poor, doesn't matter like where they come from, but they came from foster units. And so they take their voices and they listen to them, and then they bring in, and their inside approach is they bring in like government officials and like people on like committees and like have them hear their voice. And so that's kind of what NFYI does. And they have like conventions, and they have internships that can get these people to really be the social worker that we want, you know, to actually have an understanding.
And that, to me, that's a very good, I like that. I like it very much. And from what I found a website called Cycripa, and it's not really a website. It's a whole foundation that fosters children in New Delhi, India. It's a little bit international, but I do believe that it's one of the best ones in terms of taking care of a kid from a very young age. Then they've been doing it since the late 1990s, and they have different types of organizations within Cycripa itself to raise a kid, make sure that kid is cared for, and putting them in a circle, a social circle in school as well, and giving them a better chance. And it just seems to me like it really spoke to me, and it helped me gauge and give me a new sense of hope, because they showed within the website themselves, they showed that this system does work. And they talked about, there was this one kid that literally grew up throughout this system and ended up getting married to another foster kid, and they also have aftercare programs in which they can help and make sure that the kid is, or the adult now, is properly taken care of and has a better chance in life. And that just brings a newfound hope and just resilience, and it makes me feel very, very good about that.
I think what was cool about like researching Cycripa,
Mm-hmm.
right, because it's in New Delhi, India, right? So it's like, it's not from the United States,
Right.
But we just wanted to find, a foster care unit that, no matter where it was, we just wanted like an ideal one, and that really did seem to be Cycripa, right? Like from the after program, there's another statistic about, once people turn 18 and leave the foster care system, 1 out of 4 foster care children become homeless, right? And so for Cycripa, like what their goal is to make sure that they have successful individuals that will be able to provide for themselves leaving the foster care system.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think that was something very special to be able to see through Cycripa. Because there was like on their page, they have like annual reports for each year, and they have testimonies of these people. And so you're able to read like these testimonies. And one of the guys, like he turned 18 and he could have just, he had nowhere to turn to. He had no money. And Cycripa decided, we're going to come up with a financial plan for you. We're going to come up with an education. He is able to finish high school. He's able to graduate from a university, and he was able to get a job for himself. And so he was able to become independent for himself. And so I think that, raising awareness to like an organization that doesn't just do the bare minimum, right, of just like, here's some money, that, you might be able to get, your parents might take, here's some money, and then go live your life, and then afterwards, you might become homeless, right? Cycripa, what they want to do is we want to make sure that even if you're outside of it, we want to see you succeed. So I think that was really big for looking into our ideal foster care situation.
Yeah, it was a lot of very interesting things learning throughout this whole entire experience. But what is the best thing that all of you guys gotten out of this experience?
Well, I hardly knew anything about the foster care system to begin with. Just like having this brought up from you guys to picking this as our topic, like I would have never heard of NFYI, Cycripa, or things like that. I mean, I have watched a documentary back in the past about China's one-child policy and how they have adoption centers where even people from the US can go to China and just like adopt children from there. So I guess I had a little bit of knowledge about the foster care system, but not necessarily like how it works here in the States. And just being able to gain some more knowledge about it and like shed some new light, to me, it's pretty cool. I hope that other people can experience learning something like this just from, a small like conversation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Damar, how do you feel?
I liked how I was able to talk about my personal experiences, because with a topic like this, testimonies or personal testimony is a powerful tool.
Absolutely.
I was able to give my personal experiences out so everyone else could gain some knowledge about it, and about the positives and negatives of foster care.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Melina, how do you feel?
I didn't know as much information as I researched, like, through the things that we were obviously, like, doing together. I've had a friend that's been, experienced, like, in foster care before in a whole different country, and mentioned it was not the best time that she's ever had. It was, as well, like, not horrible, but, like, as a kid, traumatizing. So I felt better for myself to help you know, and like research and get more information and just like hopefully spread, you know, awareness and stuff, because, you know, that's just not okay when you're a kid and then
Right.
growing up and just feeling all of that all over again. But yeah, there is some good to it, knowing that like there is help. It's just the spreading it around the world is what everyone needs to do.
Yeah, we absolutely need to know more about this, because this is something that's very, very important for obviously our future.
Right.
And Sam, how did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Kind of going off of, you know, Melina, like, I didn't know anything really about foster care,
Mhm.
right? Like, when you guys posed the idea to me about foster care, like,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that's great. Like, we can definitely talk about that. But I was like, I didn't really know anything about it. Like, I didn't even really know what a social worker did or was. The only social worker that I knew from it was, like, Lilo and Stitch, you know,
Oh, yeah.
Cobra Bubbles, right?
Right.
And that guy fought against aliens. So it's like, I didn't know anything about foster care, and I feel like coming out of this, like, with a more general knowledge of, like, what foster care is, and just really seeing some of the faults, you know, in foster care, and how we can make it better, was just really big for me, because it took a topic that I wasn't very passionate about, and now I am passionate about it. And I didn't know that was going to happen. But even more than that, I think my biggest takeaway was learning how to donate to these foundations. I was able to see, and they have it like on both of their websites, but NFYI, like, there's like, you can, you know, send checks, obviously, send money, but like, you can do it in creative ways. Like, you can give 0.5% of your Amazon purchase to that company. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, I didn't know I could do that. It's like through like Amazon Smiles. And so I was like, that's neat, you know, like, I'll definitely like order through Amazon Smiles now. And kind of shows like they'll take, you know, whatever, you know, they, you know, you can give them. And for Cycripa, like, their donation stuff, like, I saw like how little, like, you can donate like whatever you want. Like, one of the things was you can give a child the equipment they need for like schooling for a month. And that was $6. And I literally went to Wendy's like 2 days ago and spent like $8 on a burger. So I was like, and it wasn't even a good burger. And so I was like, I could have paid for this child's education for a month. And so kind of like knowing that, like, you're right, like, we're college students, there's not too much we can do, but we can donate and we can raise awareness to these places that can, you know, make a difference. And I think that's probably what I got out of it the most, just kind of seeing what I'm able to do.
That was mine as well, just to feed off that a little bit, because it does give you like a little bit of a sense of just being more positive that this does work. For me, learning about Cycripa really helped it gave me an understanding of how positive things can be, and also how negative it can be as well. And so learning about that, the donation part, really can help you as well. So I enjoyed this. I enjoyed learning about this. It was a little bit of a not culture shock, but a little bit of a shock in general, knowing that how corrupt the system is and can be for these poor children. And so the little things that we can do definitely are going to help us in the long run. So yeah, I think we did a good job, as opposed, like, not opposed to anything, but just I think we did a good job. So thank you so much for watching. This was one of the coolest things I've done in college. So thank you so much. This was awesome.